Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Hospitality Hacks Pro podcast. I am your host, Tasha. That's me here on a solo episode today to talk about how to manage a false weight. Okay, here on the Hospitality Hacks Pro podcast, we give you tips, tricks, and tidbits, hacks, if you will, to help you be a better restaurant operator. We also talk about other areas in hospitality, such as hotel management, things of that nature. But I can personally speak to my experience in a restaurant as an operator. All right. And here's this thing about a false weight. Okay. For those who may not know or may not be familiar, oh, hold on. If you may not be familiar with the term, okay, false weight basically means you have open tables, right? You have open tables. However, you either don't have enough servers to serve those sections, or for some reason, those tables are closed. Usually, whatever that reason is, your guests don't know, nor do they care. They don't know and they don't care. All they know is when they come in, they see the open tables, they're hungry, they want to eat, and you tell them, it'll be a 10-minute wait. It'll be 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour and a half wait, and they see all these places to sit. That's called a false wait. Okay. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable, but there are certain things that you can do to help you manage this false wait. And I'm going to share three of them with you today. All right. So, first and foremost, how to manage a false wait. First tip. First tip. Fill up the front first. Fill the front. Okay. If you fill up the front of the restaurant first, it gives the illusion of it being to capacity. Okay. So if you've only got 5 servers on the floor and you need to run 8, 10, 12 in order to have every section full, right? Put those servers in the front of the restaurant. Fill up the front. So when the guests come in, they look around, they're not looking at a row of empty tables over here and a row of empty tables over there. Okay. At least when they first walk in, unless they're going to the restroom or something like that, it gives the appearance, oh, it's popping in here, it's busy. Okay. This is also a good trick just in general to help your restaurant grow and flourish. When people come in, they want to be a part of something that's already popping. They want to be a part of something that a lot of other people know and like and trust, right? So if it looks empty, it looks dead, they might be like, am I in the right place at the right time? I don't know. Okay. And so the reason we're talking about this, I went out to eat last night. We had a party of 3. We went to Chili's. False wait. 15-minute quote time. Row on the left, bunch of empty booths. Look to the right, bunch of empty tables and booths, right? But there's a wait. Now, I get it. A lot of restaurants short staff still. But I'm listening to the people to the right, I'm looking at the people in front. Again, your guests don't care. They don't care about that. Short staff or not, they're hungry. They come in, they're anxious. They want to sit down. They don't understand why there's empty tables and they don't want to hear an explanation. All right. But speaking of explanations, you want to give updates to your guests. Okay. And not in a way that's like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're understaffed tonight. Please, thank you for your patience. Just work with us. Like, not in a pleading, like begging way, but an update in the sense of, if you told them it was going to be 15 minutes and you're getting about minute 10, minute 12, right? If it's going to be longer, let that person know, hey, I know I quoted you 15. Give us 5 more minutes. We didn't forget about you. We got you coming right up. Okay. That'll stop that anxiety from rising even higher. All right. During our Chili's experience last night, there actually was a party of 4, a family, nice family. We were chit chatting back and forth, right? Mom, dad, 2 sons, or was it 3 sons? No, 2 sons, right? They were waiting, almost to the end of their wait time. They're like, forget this. We're going to the Mexican spot next door. Right. And it's because there was no buffer in between their wait time uh and their seat time being seated. And they had waited this whole, like, they had waited almost the entirety of the wait time, but they got to the end, got antsy. Can't take it anymore, we're out, right? And had they held on maybe minute and 30 seconds longer, maybe 2 minutes longer, it would have been their turn. All right. So giving those updates keeps that anxiety down, lets people know you didn't forget about them, lets them know that you feel that they're important, you want them to stay, you want them to dine with you, right? And it might help them wait those 2 minutes, right? To get seated and spend their money with you instead of the restaurant next door or across the street or around the corner. And the funny part is when they go to that restaurant, there's a probability that they'll still have to wait, right? And so they're not thinking that. They're thinking, I'm tired of waiting right now. I'm going to make a change, right? And so keep that anxiety low, give updates. All right, so fill up the front first. Tip number one, fill up the front of the restaurant first. Use those sections in the front, give the illusion that the restaurant is maybe busier than it is by filling up the front and not leaving those open spaces in the front. Number two, give updates as guests are getting closer to the fulfillment of their wait time. If you tell somebody 15 minutes and they say, okay, put my name on the list, that means they're willing to wait 15 minutes. They might not be willing to wait 17, 20, 25, 30 minutes, especially if you don't come to them and say, hey, got you coming up, didn't forget about you, hang tight, you're next on the list, 2 people down, 3 people down, and give them that type of update. All right. Last hack for tonight. We're talking about how to manage a false wait, not how to eliminate it, because sometimes it can't be avoided, right? But how to eliminate is a different conversation, right? Around hiring and training, but how to manage the false wait when you have open tables, but nobody to serve those tables and the guests have to wait, right? So the third tip is to be accurate. Be as accurate as possible with your quotes. Train your hosts to not embellish, right? So sometimes the host will feel like, oh, if I tell them less time, they'll be less angry with me because they're the front person. They're the ones up front dealing with the guests most of the time. All right. You might have a service manager, front of the house manager, breeze through, smile, talk to the people, help seat some people. But that host is there taking the brunt of this sometimes angry people. Angry, hangry, right? Hungry and angry. They have to deal with these hangry people. And so, especially if they're inexperienced, they may feel like, if I tell them it's only 10 minutes, they'll be less hangry. They won't take their anger out on me, right? But then that 10 minutes turns into the 12 to 15 to 17 to 20, and that just makes the situation worse. Okay. And so be accurate with the quote times, as accurate as possible. If you have a system like Open Table or a system to help manage quote times, utilize that system. I worked in a restaurant one time where we were paying for a system but weren't using it. We were still writing names on a piece of paper, old school, just writing that, right? And so it was because we didn't take the time to slow down to actually learn the system as a management team, right? I was part of that team too. We didn't slow down long enough to learn the system to be able to teach it to our host. All right. And so when it came time for something like a Mother's Day, a Valentine's Day, and we're like, oh my God, we need to use the system so that it can be smoother, right? It was too late to try to pivot and shift gears, right? So I did learn from that experience, and I'm sharing that learning with you guys, okay? Use your system. If you're paying for these tools, use them even in the slow times, the dead times, because when you feed information into these systems, it's like AI. It learns. It learns the flow of your restaurant, right? And then it can accurately help you quote times. It'll tell you, you put the party of 5, what time they walked in. You have your open table set up, right? It'll tell you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right? And as you clear and bust those tables, clear it out of the system. Even if you are on an old school method of writing down, right, names as you seat guests, and I'm speaking to my full service operators right now, not if you have counter service, right? But even if you are doing old school pen and paper, have one person manage that, right? So one person is writing names and keeping track of time, while maybe another host or another team member is seating guests, greeting guests, but one person is managing that instead of everybody writing things, everybody quoting different times. It can get messy, right? But if one person is managing that flow, they have an understanding, okay, it all comes to them. Maybe the other host manager says, hey, I'm cleaning table 12. Table 10 is about to cash out in a few minutes, so they'll be up next, right? And keep that rotation going, and that helps with giving the accurate quote times. Okay, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Hospitality Hacks Pro podcast. I hope this conversation helps somebody when thinking about false waits, especially as we maneuver our way through these holiday seasons. I know they can be very, very busy. All right. And so you have an influx of people potentially coming into your operation, right? And you want to manage it as efficiently as possible. I know you do. Okay. If you have some questions of our topics that you would like to discuss here on Hospitality Hacks, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I would love to be able to talk about what is ailing you right now, or what you would like to get feedback on, right? On our next episode, a Hospitality Hacks Pro podcast. I'd love to feature your question. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. We're out.